I've got it up now.
All right, I'm just gonna get this going. There. Let's make sure it actually shows this.
I can hear audio now.
All right, looks like we're good with the live stream. I'm just gonna try and see if I can actually get this to show on the screen, since that'd be a little unfortunate if it doesn't show that.
We're good.
I'm just trying to figure out why it's not showing. HDMI plugged in. Christian, have you ever had to use the HDMI in here before?
I have not. It's hot in here.
If I find it connects over here, let's go back there. Hello.
Hey. Hello.
I'm just trying to get the video to actually show from the laptop. And once we get that, we can actually get started.
If we have to, we can do the live stream thing again as well, like from Discord.
Sure.
I've had to do that before.
I know we've gone to work in here before.
Yeah, it should work.
All right, let's try it this way.
There's a lot of Linux family with
Oh.
a lot of helmet problems.
It's trying something. That thing just turned off.
It's cooking. It's cooking. I don't know if it's cooking anything good, but it's cooking.
Perhaps it's just pain in the
Okay, let's try maybe this one. Nope. This one. That's something entirely
It's a
different.
keyboard.
Trying to give it a chance just to show us something. What is?
I don't know who that is.
That's not entirely different. How about this? That's something different.
The news.
Oh, that's Svea. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Your name was?
Svea. S-V-E-A.
Nice, man. I'm Owen.
Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to
I
meet
tried to
you.
change all of them.
Yeah.
I think it's just, I don't know, it's not detecting the HDMI for some reason. Maybe,
I wanted to join or come to this club for a long time, but I just never think it hasn't
do
worked
we
out.
want to, well, I don't even think any of these ones would work with this.
Not yet.
Um,
No.
I guess I can
gotta get
try
some
doing
applications out. I
Discord.
just
That
feel
is
like-
gonna be weird though.
I feel like before I can
Or I could actually just get it going from the
now I
YouTube,
need
I
to,
guess.
like, revamp my GitHub and
me
build a
try that.
website for myself and all this stuff. And it's cold outside, my nose run.
Yeah, you're welcome to try whatever you think of.
So that's holding me back a little bit, but I'm hoping that I can get those things,
That was not my password. How did I forget my password?
at least redo my resume and then start doing more applications. I did some in the fall too.
I just know the house feed ones are like the news channels.
They got me like 3 rounds of interviews for one place and then they
I don't know.
like,
There's always
sorry, no.
things I feel like.
Yeah.
But I didn't love them anyway.
Remember,
There's a place in Greenville that does like,
that has to be my password, isn't it?
I don't remember the term, but like auto loans, but like hybrid. Yeah, it was like high risk auto loans, which means that they take advantage of people who don't have a lot of money, most likely.
Oh, there's
it's
a
not
weird
great.
keyboard.
Back
Yeah.
PC. Well, it's the full keyboard.
I mean,
Do you want to try logging into this?
there's no concrete,
I
like,
don't think it likes my email for
they
some reason.
weren't like definitely sketchy, but they were probably sketchy. One of my friends is gonna work there though. I'm in a different job, he's not outside.
It doesn't like us. All right, time to download a virus on this thing.
I think if we just do like go straight from YouTube on there, it'll also work. It's just gonna be weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
an engineer and a computer scientist getting destroyed by a HDMI port.
I've had my resume reviewed before.
Why did it like yours and not mine?
Just have more skills that I have and more, I want to do more projects to put on there. So it's not so much that, it always has to be, yeah, for sure.
I mean, okay. And then if we just quickly go to Google, we can probably get the YouTube open.
Yeah, the issue is it's going to show up there.
I think we can make sure it does. Let's see. I'll unplug my HDMI. There.
No,
And then, let's see.
I think I'm gonna do one.
Yeah.
Start doing some of
There's gonna be one in the spring, I think, at some point, see if I can, that's not just for freshmen. That I did last year, and it was fun. Though my
Alright.
tip is try to find
Why
a
isn't
team
some of
for,
those working?
and I did not know those people would have a team when I showed up. By the
Hello.
time I started.
Alright, that is
So
pretty
I
close to working.
Ended up on a team with like undergrad
Yes.
students, and they were like studying years and saying stuff.
Probably. That's just Clemson.
Is that next to what's that?
There we go.
That whole track recording software.
Alright. And I guess you'll just open that. We'll immediately mute that. Open that. We'll immediately.
All right. We have technology.
There we go. Oh, now why is it not showing the screen anymore? What is going on here?
All right. What am I opting into?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm just gonna just go away.
Yeah, wait a minute, but now it's not showing the right stuff at all there. So it's supposed to be showing the screen. What in the world? Yes. There. All right. Why does technology hate us so much? Oh, okay. That's a screen.
Into the ether.
Does it now? Maybe it'll switch. It might just lag a little.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
It lags behind by like a few seconds, but at least we finally got this open.
Okay. We're chilling.
Okay. I'm sorry for that wait. That was not going to take nearly as long as that did. But today we'll be going ahead and doing a little tutorial on make a 2D shooter in Godot. It'll be top down, so it'll be more similar to something like Hotline Miami if you're familiar with that game, than as some people have mentioned before, like say like Space Invaders or something. So here's, that's going to take a few seconds probably. It's going to show you the plan. There we go. Here's the plan. So we're just going to make a very basic player character. It'll just be like, it'll follow the mouse in terms of like, it'll rotate towards wherever the mouse is. And it'll just be using like just basic WASD to move. So we don't need anything too fancy for the player controller. And then for actually doing the shooting, compared to like the previous shooters we've done in this club, this will just be using projectiles instead of raycasts. So it'll just be creating like a little bullet that will go to wherever it's shooting at, and then they'll be using the collisions of that bullet to make sure it knows if it's actually hitting anything. And I don't know if this will necessarily work so well anymore, but this big old QR code here is for the Tiger Quest. And if I give that a few seconds to update, it should show a little bit zoomed out. Okay. If you guys are able to...
Yeah, it's still like on the bottom.
Hang on. It's going to take like a few seconds to update again. I just tried to zoom out a little. There. Oh, and I guess we also have the big old issue. There's kind of that line going in between from the TVs.
Yeah, there's just a lock feature.
Yeah. And also make sure I do it for myself. Go. So we're all good there. So how many of you plan to follow along this time? All right, well, that's at least two. So that's something. So for those of you who plan to follow along, there should be some files in the announcements I sent. I would suggest going ahead and downloading those so you have something to work with during this. You can always use your own assets, but those are just stuff I had ready for this. So I'll go ahead and open up Godot. This thing is going to be weird in how much it lags behind. All right, so we're going to go ahead and create a new game. So I'll just call this 2D shooter. I'll just call it tutorial. I'm going to take a few seconds to update. And you can just keep it on /. Actually, just to make sure. So you're new to the club, right?
Yeah, I went to a meeting, maybe not, I think it was 2 semesters ago.
Mhm.
But I've been in the Discord for a while.
Gotcha. Do you have Godot and everything set up?
I do have Godot. I've opened it maybe one time, but I am on the creating a project screen. I'm working on getting Discord to update and open so I can download the assets folder thing.
Gotcha. That's no problem. I just want to make sure you're able to keep up with this then.
I will try my best. I'll let you know if I'm having troubles.
That's no problem. I'm happy to take any pauses needed to try and help you. So for this, we'll just go ahead and keep with the /+ renderer. It probably doesn't really matter which one we do for this. And I'll do create and edit. All right, so we'll be greeted with, again, our empty scene as usual. And this time we'll probably go ahead and start setting up like our basics we'll need for our map. So in that case, we're just going to go ahead and make a 2D scene. So this will be where we'll just be making a little sample map, which we'll just go ahead and call that here. Sample map. And then if you're not as used to Godot, whenever you're adding stuff, we'll be using this little plus here to do so. So this will be adding child nodes. And this time, since we want to be starting to make the map, we're going to do tile map layer. And we'll just do create. So that's, again, going to be lagging behind a little. All right. So this here on the bottom is for us to set up our tile set and do our tile map. So let's see. We currently don't have any tiles. So we'll have to go over here to our right where it says empty next to tile set. And then we're going to do new tile set. So we click that empty, and then it'll give us the option to make a new tile set. And then once we have that made, we can just go ahead and click it. And that lets us make sure we have the right options for tile size and all that. And in the future, we can also use the physics layers and other stuff. But for now, we may just need to make sure our tile size is right. And if it is, I think 16 should work for this. We're going to go ahead to tile set now at the bottom here next to tile map. All right. And then similar to making like a child node, we're going to use a plus here so we can start making our little tile set. Where you have a few options. You have Atlas and you have Scenes Collection. Atlas is for like your actual image files. So if you have a whole tile map that's like a PNG or something, you're going to use an Atlas for that. Whereas Scenes Collection is like, say if you already have like enemies and stuff you want placed on a tile map you made, then that's the way to do that. But we'll just go ahead and do Atlas since we have those. Oh, almost forgot. I need to go ahead and move my little assets in there. So I'm just going to do that real quick. All right. Oh, whoops. That's actually the tutorial, not the. There it is. So those files I sent, if you want to use them, that includes like a crosshair, some basic particles we can use, the parts that like of both the player, allies, and an enemy, and then just some basic stuff for like grass, dirt, and I think one foxhole, which you could also break apart to try and make like trenches, for instance. Oh, and also some health stuff, but that should pretty much be it. I'm just grabbing the 1x1 so I don't mess with it by doing the imports, especially since this stuff is originally from 4.2, so it might get a little testy if I try and just paste it directly into 4.3. So let's see there. Keeping up. It's a few seconds behind. So you're also probably going to want to make a folder for all this. So you'll make a textures folder, and that's going to be where you're going to put all the graphics files. That's just an easier way for organization. And now with all that, we can actually go back in there, and in Godot, you'll notice that it'll give you like a little loading bar and say, and you'll be able to see your textures folder in there to show you actually have them. And now we can finally go to our tile set, to Atlas, then go to our textures, and we'll be greeted with all the PNGs in there that we can use. So in this case, we have a few options. We have some like land 1 that's for grass. We have land 2 that's meant to be more like rocks or concrete. Land 3 is more like dirt. And then you have the voxel one. So we'll go ahead and just load in all the land ones for now. And it'll just give you this option. You'll just say yes. There. All right. And just make sure real quick for the two of you that are trying to keep along, are you caught up or do you need a second to make sure? All right. Are you good?
I think I'm caught up. I just added them, the 3D lands as a source for the tiles, yes?
Going to take a look?
Sure. Okay. I think I have everything set up.
Yep, that looks great.
Yeah.
And are you in the latest version of Godot on 4.3?
I don't know. I
Yeah,
downloaded it 2 months ago, so.
We can check real quick.
Okay.
So, right down there, 4.2. So yours is pretty much the same like how we're going to do it, because the main difference is that you see in here it says tile map layer, here it says tile map. So both of them, like they work almost the same, except if you ever do like different layers on top of each other, now it's entirely different nodes, whereas before you could all do that in just one tile map.
Okay.
So
Should I update it sometime?
at some point if you want to, but it's not like really necessary.
Okay.
And you can pretty much keep up with this, since as long as you're not like doing any coding to directly like put stuff on there, if you're just editing it, it's fine.
All right.
So with that, we can go ahead and go down the tile map. And since we have all our tiles, we can actually start making a very basic little map here. So what I'll go ahead and do is we have a few tools. We have a little pencil tool. That's just for doing like individual little tiles here and there. There's a line tool. Well, it's kind of self-explanatory. Just as a line for like one point to another. And then you have the rectangle tool. The rectangle tool is, I'll just go ahead and show it. So I'll just say like, I'll just click that little tile in the middle. And then I'll just click and drag. And it just fills up the whole thing with that tile. And that works just fine, especially if you're just trying to fill in like a big area. But especially with these tiles, it's like, it might seem a little repetitive to the player if all is just the same texture. So we have a few options. If we look over here, we have this little dice icon. If you click that, that lets you choose like random tiles whenever you do this. So instead of just doing on one tile from here, we can click and drag in that little square. And now we can have all 9, which, yeah, unfortunately it lags a little, but you'll see it now. So you click and drag on there, you can have all 9 selected. And then whenever you use one of those placement options, it'll randomize whatever is in there. So I'll see if I can zoom in. I might need to get a mouse. Oh, there. So this will take one little second. Hopefully it works. Oh, that video quality is not there. At least on your end, you'll probably see that it'll be like a little more like various in there. It won't just be the same tile over and over, which can make it look a little better. So I'm going to zoom back out. And then we can start using some other tiles. For instance, we can use the green just to make it a little more varied. That's just to add something else to this map. Though one thing we do also need to do is that we need to add something as like a little boundary like for a map, so that if the player's going around, they can't just explore until the map ends and just go into the great void. But that's pretty easy to do. So we'll go back to our tile set, and we'll choose land 2, which is meant to be more like the rocks. And in there, I'm going to open up the window a little so we can have a few options. So in land 2, we're going to go to select, and then actually we can just go ahead and select all these tiles. There. And we're going to start making it so all of them have like some sort of collisions on them. So right off the bat, there's not necessarily anything for that, in which case we need to go to physics layers. And you'll see that on the right, that's on the tile set. So go to physics layers, we're going to do add element, and we'll just leave it how it already makes it. It basically has a collision layer and a collision mask, and those numbers just refer to like any like nodes are like the same sort of numbers, it'll collide with them. So as long as we make our players on the same like numbers, for instance, if our player also has like a 1 in their collision layer, then they'll detect it, they won't go through it. So we'll be fine just doing that. And with that now set up, we go back to our little tile set here, and you will see the little physics tab. You can go to physics layer 0. I'll give it a second to open that up so I can show it. All right, so with physics layer 0, we can start on making it so our little tile has collisions. And since we've already selected all of them in there, we'll just go ahead and use these little options here to start making that. So to do this, there's a little polygon tool. That's the little green one. And you're just going to try and put down all the little corners of here. It's okay if you're not perfect. There are ways to try and go back and fix it. So you just try and put down all the corners. And then you finish up at the one you started. And when you finish up, the box is going to turn red. And whatever's red in there shows you that physics layer applies to it. So that'll make sure anything that has these tiles in your little tile map, it'll have collisions, and then the player won't be able to go through them. Do both of you have that set up?
It turned blue instead of red, is that?
Oh, I think that's just how the older colors work, but it should be
Okay.
fine. As long as they change the color, it should still work.
How do you do it? I like was in the wrong menu for a second.
Oh, that's the problem. Let me see where you are.
Yeah, I'm like right over here. Just
Oh, yeah, you have the physics layer. Let's go ahead and open up that window. We'll just make it easier. Just like drag up the top. You can drag from where the scroll bar is up above it. There should be a way to.
oh, okay, never mind. Never
Yeah,
mind.
that's okay.
Alright.
And if you already have the physics layer, all you have to do is use the little green one with the plus,
Okay.
and then just click on all the corners. Oh, whoops.
Okay.
And just make sure to finish by clicking the one you started at. And there you go.
Okay. There you
You're good. All right. So with that, we'll have little questions for this. So I'll go ahead and bring this menu back down since we don't need to see the whole thing anymore. There. And I'll go to the tile map. And along the places where I don't really want the player to go wandering off, I'll go ahead and just surround the map with that. Or you could also add it throughout the map if you want, add like little bits of barriers to it. All right. And when we have all that done, and like you're happy with how your map looks for now, I would suggest going ahead and saving it, which we'll just go ahead and right click on the little scene up top, and we'll just do save scene. And are both of you caught up? Gotcha, that's no problem. And we'll just go ahead and start making the main character. All right, go. So to make the player, we're going to add a new scene. Just give it a second. There we go. And we'll do utter node. And we're going to add a character body. Usually we do a character body 2D. There we go. And this is where we're going to actually make it so our player can like have a script to start moving. But we first probably want to add some sort of graphics so we can even see anything for our player. So for that, I'm just going to go again to add child node, sprite. And we'll add two different sprites since the graphics I sent, it has one for the main body of the character and one for like their arms and the weapon they're holding. That way, if you ever want to make it so they can change weapons, you can just change what arms they have instead of changing the whole character. Do both of you have your sprites right here?
Yeah, I've got more of that.
I had the graphical assets folder project, so.
All right, that works. All right, you got the sprites?
I have to switch to a new scene.
Oh, yeah, you switch to a new scene, and then when it gives you the option, choose other node, and then in there you'll do character body 2D, since that'll be the root node for the scene. And once you have that, you'll do the plus like we did before to add two sprite 2D nodes.
How do you adjust the node 2D to be a character body?
So you chose a root node to do is perfectly fine. I'll just show you how you can change your root node with that.
Oh, okay.
So we'll go ahead and add a new node and do character body. And then if you right click on that, it should give you the option to root node. It makes it root.
Okay.
Okay, and then you switch through, you can get rid of the node 2D since that's not really necessary. That's mostly like kind of like a standard sort of thing you can make for your root node, and maybe add scripts on, but it doesn't really do much by itself.
All right. And then I add the.
Two sprite 2D nodes. And we haven't added anything to the sprites yet.
All right, I'm good.
All right. So to give these textures, we go over to the texture over there on the right side, and we click on the empty that it has, and that gives us a bunch of options, but we're just going to go ahead and do load, or you could even do quick load if you want to, but we'll just do load, and we'll go ahead and do the allied soldier sprite. Since you can choose whichever one, you can do you can make your character blue, red, whatever. I'm just going to do the green one, and that's going to be for our body. And then I'll go to the other one, same thing, textures, and instead I'll add the gun this time. And I'm gonna zoom in to make sure they look right. Oop. Gotta make sure it's on there. All right, it'll take a second to go over. So if you add those on, your player should look like this. If it doesn't, you might just want to reorder the sequence of your sprites. So you could just switch them around or change the textures from one to the other. All right. Do both of you have that?
Yeah, I got that.
All right. And what other thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and add our camera. So we'll do camera 2D. And then it should be pretty fine, pretty much just how it is like right now. We might adjust it later on. Like for instance, we can add position smoothing if we feel like it following the player is a little weird, but we'll just keep it how it is right now. And we'll finally start working on our player script. So to add a script to it, we'll go back to our character body 2D. And up top, there's a little icon for attached script. That kind of looks like a little scroll thing. So we'll click that. And then we can go ahead and rename it. So I'll do player script. And you got to press enter or do create. All right. And when you open that up, it's going to already generate you like some basic movement code. But this is mainly meant for platformers. So whereas that would work if you're just making a very basic 2D platformer, this is not going to work at all in our case. So we're going to get rid of at least most of this for now. So I would say get rid of pretty much everything under physics process. We'll use physics process ourselves. And we'll get rid of these constants for now. We might make our own. So all we'll have left to start with is the extends character body 2D and the physics process node. So to get started, we are going to make our speed, speed equal 100. And then we're going to define a few variables we'll be using for when it comes to using our weapons. So first we'll do our fire rate, 0.2, our damage, equal 1, our health, 10, and then I'll explain this little one. All right, so most of these ones are probably self-explanatory except for probably fire ready. Fire ready is one we're going to be kind of using just to tell what the state is in terms of being able to fire or not. So it's like if you've just shot your gun, it'll wait the time of fire rate, and then it'll change fire rate to 1 again to let you shoot again. So that's how we'll be using that variable. And then next, we're going to go ahead and start working on doing health. So actually, we don't need to worry about that. That's going to be covered later. Never mind, my bad. We're going to do look at, get global mouse position. All right. So the first thing we'll do is we'll make it so our player looks at the mouse, which all we need is just this little line here. So look at get global mouse position. So it just rotates towards wherever the mouse is based on its global position. And then next, we're going to go ahead and do a basic little line that'll make sure when our character is moving, it loses a little speed over time just to make sure it's not sliding all over the place. So we'll do velocity equals velocity times 0.8. So it's whenever you're moving around, it'll take a little bit to stop, but not too much. So it's kind of a little bit of friction. And then, all right, let's do, so we're about to start on doing our inputs for say the cameras, I'm zooming in and out, but also I'm moving. But to do all that, we're also going to need to define our inputs. And well, you could just make it so in the code, it's hey, if it's this specific key, then you do whatever action. We're going to use an input map. So if you're familiar with Godot or you're not familiar with it, we're going to go to project settings. So we go to project, then project settings. And that's where we get a little input map we can work with. I'll give it a second to show up. All right. So we can basically add actions into here that we want to be using. For instance, we'll do zoom in. So we type that in here. And then when we have it typed in, we do add. And then we'll go ahead and add all of our actions. So we'll do zoom out, forward, backward, left, right. I think that should be all we need. Oh, and shoot. There we go. So you can define all these how you want to. Because I'm not using a mouse right now, I'll go ahead and use arrow keys. So to add an actual keyboard input or something to whatever thing you're doing, you take whatever action you want to give it to. So in this case, I'm doing zoom in. So I go over here to the little plus sign it has, and then it'll pop up this little window here. And whatever key you press, it'll detect it. And then you just make sure it says whatever you want it to be. And then you can just click OK. And I'll go ahead and do that for all these. And you could also add multiple inputs for each. So let's say you want to make it so for forward, you can do either W or the up arrow key. You could just do a plus again. You can add both. So we'll go ahead and finish doing all this. There. All right. Do both of you have your inputs set up?
Yeah.
Mhm. Gotcha. I'll leave this up for just a little bit longer so you guys can make sure you have them. You don't need to match my particular inputs. You can make them whatever you want. You just want to make sure you at least have these certain actions. All right. Do you have them? Are you good?
I have everything except shoot.
Gotcha. If you have any trouble getting it to detect your left mouse button, you can always just scroll through the actions it shows. You can just select it manually that way.
Okay. All right, I have the
All right, so we'll close that out, and now we can actually go ahead and use that in our code. So we'll do if input dot is action. Let me see which one we want to be using. Where are we doing just released? There. Zoom plus equal vector 2 0.05 0.05. All right. I'll scroll up a little just to make sure. Oh, but I can't scroll up. All right, this might be a little hard to see because of this line right here, but essentially this is checking if input is action just released for the zoom in. That's actually mainly used for say like if you're using like your scroll wheel. So that hopefully should still work in this case if we're using arrow keys. It just might be a little more laggy, but this should still work just fine. And then we'll be doing camera.zoom plus equal that vector right here. That's essentially just using, it'll take whatever zoom it's already at and add that little bit to it, which should make it so it'll zoom in a bit. And we'll go ahead and just copy this whole thing. And we'll just replace a few things in there to make the zoom out. Since it's pretty much just the same sort of code, except we just change the action we're doing and change a plus to a minus. There we go. All right. Then next from there, we'll go ahead and start doing some of our basic movement. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll do if input dot is action, I believe, just pressed. There. Speed. Vector 2. There we go. All right, so this is to get us moving forward. And because we're doing this based on like rotation, we have to use a little bit of trigonometry here, which is just simple. We're just using, I believe, what should be radians for our rotation, and just plugging that into either of those for the x and y components. And then we do that times a little speed up there, and that way we'll be able to start moving forward. And same thing as before, we can just take that whole thing, copy that, paste it, and we'll just change this up a little just to get our backwards working. Backward. Let's do a minus. There we go. All right. Then next we'll go ahead and do going left or right. So this is more for like strafing. So is action pressed. We're going to do left. velocity equal speed times vector 2. That's cosine of rotation minus pi divided by 2, and comma, sine of rotation. Is it minus? Yep, it's minus. Pi divided by 2. All right. So this is where to get left working similar sort of manner. We're using some little trigonometry here. And as you probably remember from that, you can just offset by 90 degrees using just pi divided by 2 in there. And that'll be getting us going left, which, as you might be able to guess, we'll be able to copy and paste this whole thing again to get our right working. Yep. So that is at least all we need in terms of like this little if statement block just to get all that working. And that'll mostly work in terms of handling our inputs, at least in terms of just movement for now. Though one other thing we need to do is we need to make sure if our player actually was like too slow from its friction that they'll just go ahead and just stop moving. So we'll go back to where we did our little velocity equal velocity times 0.8. And we're just going to check our velocity real quick if absolute of velocity.x plus absolute of velocity.y. We'll go ahead and put that in some big parentheses. If that is less than 15, we'll do velocity equal vector 2, 0, 0. There. So this little thing, you'll just be checking to make sure if we just sum up our velocity in the x and y directions, like in terms of their absolutes, if that's less than 15, we're just going to go ahead and just get it to stop moving. If you want to be extremely like more like precise about it, you would instead do like the whole square root sort of thing. But we don't need to be too fancy with this. This is just a quick little thing to make sure it eventually does stop moving at all. And from there, we'll ignore shooting just for the time being, just so we can make sure we actually get our person moving. And in order to do so, all we need to do is do one little command, move and slide. And move and slide is like one of the built-in Godot commands for taking like the velocity of whatever character body you're looking at right now, and it would be making it so it moves based on that. And also accounts for collisions. So we'll just keep it like this, and we'll go ahead and save this whole scene. So we'll do save as player. Save that. And then once that is saved, we'll just transition to our little 2D view up top. So you just click on the 2D. Then we'll right click on our little character body over here. We're just going to be ease of use. We're just going to rename that player just so that whenever we put this between scenes, we know what we're talking about. Because we're going to go ahead and copy that. So right click on it and copy. We're going to go back to our little sample map. Give it a second to update. So we go to our little sample map, click on the node 2D, right click on that, do paste, and there's a little player in the middle, but we don't exactly want them to start in the middle of the rocks, at least in my case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these tools up here to go ahead and move it. So you'll see this one right here is move mode. You can click on that, and that way whenever you try and move something on here, it only moves it. It doesn't like try and mess with anything else in the process. So I'll do that. And then I'm going to test this out. And to do so, I'm going to go ahead and click on this little button here. Run current scene. And it should, there we go. So I'll make sure this you can see this on your end. All right. Oh, yeah, I guess that big old thing in the middle is going to make that hard. Let me scoot this over. I'll wait 1 second for that to update. I'll just move the window over so you can actually see the player. There we go. And on your end, if you have it as well, you should be able to have your player move it around. So your movement should work. You should be able to go left, right, forward, and backward. It should follow the mouse. All right. See ya. Does this work for both of you?
I'm
Oh dear. Does that at least work for you?
It doesn't collide with the way when it's supposed to.
Let me make sure. I'll make sure actually. It should do that. Oh, my bad. There is one small thing we'll need to do for that. I forgot we need to actually add a collision thing onto our player. That'll just be a quick little fix. I'll just make sure his Godot isn't trying to hurt him.
I think it might know because I think I created it accidentally in the sprite tree first. Oh man, I'm right. That's the problem. It's not an issue.
Oh, yeah, it seems like not. I mean, extending would look fine. Could you get rid of the script on the sprite 2D? How about right click on the sprite 2D, like away from the script? Yeah, and then you'll get an option to attach script. There you go. And then have you pasted the player into the main scene?
Yeah, I can just replace them.
Yeah. I just want to make sure this works for you. And it's like everything else besides the collisions work for you. All right. Because collisions will just be quick. We'll just add a little collision thing on there, and then that should be fixed. Oops.
What happened there? And child by accident. So maybe see it.
Something delete all of it. So I get rid of both of those. And also, Control C and Control V do work in Godot. That's a little bit.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's no problem. But you can also hold them. Should work to hold them. Oh, maybe I can check. If you did like just in front of like just press that, and you can see you have to press it each time. Yeah, it's for those ones, the other ones, forward and all that. Get rid of the just in there, and it should work just fine.
Okay. Thank you.
And then I'll show real quick how to get collisions working. So with that, I'll get rid of this little window there. I'll go back to my player, add child node, and we're going to add a collision shape 2D to it. So I'll make sure you can see that. There. So we'll add that directly to our player, like nothing else there. And again, to that, we have to add another little child node. We got to add, let me make sure I got this right. It's been a little while. Is it just, I could have sworn we had to do, oh, right, yeah, because this is just 2D. Never mind. All right. Ignore me trying to make a child node. I forgot this is 2D, not 3D. We go over here to the right and do shape. That'll give you a few options. I'm just going to do a little circle. And when you make that, you should see a little blue circle or whatever shape you chose to get created a little player. And you got to drag the little orange circles you see on there to change its size. Or it also gives you the option to click on it again in that little shape thing, and you can adjust it more finely in there. But that'll just make sure we have something. So I'll go ahead and run that again. And hopefully this time it should have collisions. Yeah. You got the collision thing added?
So actually, this was a piece from.
Yeah, as long as it pieces the entire thing or how you did, it's fine. It only becomes an issue if you see all the like individual child elements under there. So you could just play it right now, but should hopefully work fine based on the stuff you added.
Not good.
All right. Let me check the time. We lost definitely a little bit of time there. Yeah, it's 7:53. I'll go ahead and get us started real quick on just adding the bullets. I won't get entirely through shooting, but that'll be fine. We'll at least be able to get that knocked down, get enemies knocked out next time.
Still doesn't collide with gray.
see. Should they? Can we go back to the editor? Let's go check on that. Shape. Let's see. Maybe. Oh, my bad. It's the character body. Check and take a look at. So go into the player. So character body. Go to collision. That's the player. This is what collision right here. Yeah. This lets us take a look at a little bit of this so you can see safe margin. Or actually, there. This lets us see. So you heard from before the layers for that stuff. We gotta make sure those are the same layers. So that's 1 So that should match if we go back to the other one. So let's take a look at your tile map. And so that your physics layers, so those should be fine. Let's take a look at your tile set just to make sure. You do select. You select all of those. And scroll on down to physics. I'm not sure. For whatever reason, it doesn't have it. But if you fix that, that should get it working. There we go. Now it's right. Maybe it was a different layer, but it was done before by accident. I'm not sure. But
So is that saved now?
that should work, yeah.
Okay.
And then if you do current scene, we can see if that fully works.
It wouldn't register my trackpad.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, that works.
Nice. Let me see. We currently have 5 minutes. That's enough, I guess, to put like the bullet sprayed in real quick. Do you guys want to try and do bullets real quick, or do you want to just do that next time?
Don't matter to me.
Do you want to give it a shot?
I'm fine with anything.
Okay. I'll see how far we can get with this. So we'll do another new scene. We'll do other node. And this time we'll be starting off with a little sprite. And then we're also going to go ahead and add in our collision for that. Wait, am I right? Oh, it is going to be a character body. My bad. But we'll do like what I showed you before, where we're just going to do a character body. And we're going to reparent that to make sure we do it right. There we go. That fixes that little issue. And then we add in our collision shape. There we go. Then we go to Sprite 2D, load, go to our textures. We're going to choose our bullet. And that should be in there just fine there. We'll go to our collision, circle. Then its ordinary rate is going to be way too large. We'll do it to like 2. That should be just fine. I'll rename this to bullet. I'll rename the scene as well just so we have that ready. Bullet. Then we'll make our bullet script. And similar to before, we're going to get rid of a lot of the stuff in there. So, yeah, pretty much anything we have in here is just going away. There we go. And this one's definitely going to be a bit different since the way we're going to be handling bullets is that we need to make sure they can also handle for whoever fires them. So if it's either enemies, players, or allies, it needs to be able to know like what team is sending it so it knows who to actually hit. So we're going to first make a variable for that. So we're going to do var team, and this is just going to be null since it won't know its team when it's first created, at least until whatever made it tells it. Damage equals 1. Then unlike before, we're at a ready function. And we're going to set its velocity in there. Velocity equals 800 times vector 2 cosine rotation sine rotation. There we go. Move and slide. All right. I'm just gonna say what we have for right now since we have like 2 minutes left, so I won't try and push us too much. But what we have here already is just the basics of what we're gonna need. The only other bit of script we'll need in our bullet code will just be to handle when it hits people. But that'll require us making a whole area thing for it to detect. So I'll leave that for next time so we don't get too far in depth. But essentially what it has for right now is it has a little ready function where once it's been created and it's already been given its rotation by whatever made it, it'll be able to set its velocity based on that rotation. And then from there, it'll be able to just use its physics process just to move and slide. It doesn't need anything fancy in the physics process since it already knows what velocity it has in what direction. So it needs nothing there, it just does move and slide and it's good there. So that'll be the basics of the bullet. We'll just be having to add some stuff next time, but this is just for bullet movements at least. And we can handle shooting and some basic stuff like enemies next time. All right. Oh, whoops. I'll keep that on the script in case you're still. Yeah, sorry, it's gonna get that script. There we go. All right, do you have that?
Yeah.
And do you have this little bit of code? Gotcha, no problem. I'll go ahead and get the little live stream off for us since this is pretty much the end of it since we're like at like 1 minute till. So I'll go ahead and end that.
Is our group coming in?